I'm really refreshed in my self-care tips because I've had to lean on them throughout the whole entire year. It's been one of those school years. Hello, I'm Lauren and you're watching Social Work Scrapbook. I'm so happy you're here. Throughout this year, you're gonna see the number 10 featured in a few different videos because this is my 10th year as a social worker. I graduated with my MSW and got licensed back in 2009, and now here we are in 2019. So I want to share 10 tips, 10 of my fears, 10 of my strategies. If you have a request, drop it down below and I'll hopefully create a video on it. But in this particular video, we are talking about my top 10 tips to prevent burnout, compassion fatigue, etc., etc. So if you're interested in learning how I have managed to stay energetic within the field of social work, let's get right into it. Okay, so burnout, let's talk about it. Let me get a little personal. This is my 10th year, as I mentioned, as a social worker, but it's my first year in the role that I'm currently at right now, which is a whole new population. I've kind of moved up to a high school level. I'm also working with teen moms and dads. So I've really had to step up my game as far as self-care, because once you step out of your comfort zone, you have to give yourself that time, that learning curve. I'm really refreshed in my self-care tips because I've had to lean on them throughout the whole entire year. So let's start with number 1, which is create a morning routine. This doesn't mean that you have to be a morning person. You want to get into a routine, something that's predictable to start your mornings. Me, I am an early bird. I like to wake up at 4:30 in the morning. That gives me that extra hour or 2 hours, sometimes 4 hours, if my mind is really going. My routine consists of brushing up, washing my face, turning on my salt lamp, and getting all my thoughts down on paper or into my laptop. Creative thoughts. I like to be creative, and that's when I get everything done and kind of just release that creative energy right in the morning. I also try to meditate. I like to wake up my kids slowly, spend some time snuggling with them in the mornings. It's a little rushed during a school day, but typically that's my routine. That's what gets me ready to go. Basically, you do you. Just be sure that you have some sort of morning predictability, something that's enjoyable to you. If it's not rising early, then it's not rising early. If it's a certain type of coffee or maybe a new coffee every other week or so. My next tip is to understand that rest is not indulgent. You aren't being selfish. In fact, you are making sure that you're giving the best of yourself to the people that you love, the people that love you. As social workers, we do give a lot of ourselves throughout the day to our colleagues and our clients, of course, and then once we get home, there's very little patience, at least for me. So don't consider rest as indulgent and selfish. It's actually selfish to be on work mode all the time. And that's gonna lead me into my next tip. This is a big one that I don't think social workers do very often. Let me just get straight to it, is take a mandatory mental health day. Schedule in those mental health days for yourself. A day that you are able to do what you need to do to rest, but more so not be consumed with work at all. This is very important, and if you find it difficult to take these mental health days, take these breaks, you really need to consider the value that you're placing on your work. That's not to say that your work doesn't matter. What I mean by this is we don't want you to connect your worth and your value to your output. If at all possible, do not take work home with you. Next tip, delegate. Get good at delegating. What I mean by this, and this is a little loaded because there's different ways to delegate. The biggest tasks that you have, break them down into chunks and time how long that takes. If there are tasks that can be done by someone else that's on staff, another colleague of yours, then delegate that out. Don't feel like you have to own all of that. Use your colleagues to help you out. Sometimes we don't tend to either trust or depend on them as much as we should because we kind of have the idea or the feeling that we have to do all the things. If this is going to be a little too difficult for you, then delegate in other areas of your life. We know that there are so many services out there, grocery drop-offs, those meal boxes that they send. I don't even know what they're called. These are obviously things that I'm not doing. I don't tend to delegate those things, but my thought in making this video is there are going to be some social workers out there that are going to be really hesitant to delegate at work. So delegate at home. If you want to spend your money on a service, on something that's going to help you juggle every single aspect of your life, don't feel bad or indulgent because of that. Because money is energy, and when you spend that money, you're able to reclaim that energy and that time back for yourself. And this just prevents any type of breakdowns and compassion fatigue and burnout. So in the long run, it's money well spent. Okay, so I'm halfway there. 5 more tips to go. My next tip is to be future focused. This means you want to always have something to look forward to in the future, whether it be a trip, a vacation, a mental health day that you've already scheduled. You want to have something to look forward to in the future to keep you going. It doesn't even have to be that indulgent or that big of a thing. It can be something as simple as next Saturday you're going to see your sister and go to the movies. That's futuristic type of planning, short-term planning. So as long as you have something, that little light at the end of the tunnel, that's what we're shooting for in future planning. The next few tips are a little more doable. Go outside, get into nature. I know around the winter months, I tend to slump. My energy level drops. I'm just not wanting to do any of the things. And I think that's partly because the sun is not out as much during the winter and I literally want to hibernate. So when the sun comes out, I am rushing outside. I'll try to do sessions outside with my students because I just need that energy. I need to soak up those vibes. So taking walks even during your lunch, going on an outing, on a hike, I mean, you make it what it will, but honestly, I do feel like we feed off of nature, and when we're in our offices, at our desks, staring at screens all day, we are robbed of that energy. So be sure you get outside. The next tip is music. This is one that I kind of pulled away from. I'm guilty of listening to NPR and podcasts way too much, and I lean one way more than the other. But when I reconnect with my favorite CDs, with my favorite artists, with new music, fresh music I haven't heard before, I really feel a sense of calmness. Some of the things that I'm mentioning, like nature and music, are very feminine based. These are very yin in nature, meaning it's kind of wild and intriguing and soft, and they just give you those warm, fuzzy feelings. And I feel when you're a working mom, when you're a social worker, business oriented, toughened, we get hardened, you hear about the jaded social worker, you want to be sure that when you're feeling that way, you take a step back and you lean more into that yin, which is music, which is dancing, which is movement, which is nature. Get yourself out of the population that you work with. So as social workers, we tend to see all of the tough stuff, and that's what makes us who we are. We're able to meet those confrontations and challenges and go. But what we need to realize is there's a world beyond our population that we're working in right here. There are well-adjusted children in the world. That's what I always have to remind myself, because to be honest, some of the stories and issues that I deal with, they really get me down. So what I do to soak up positive energy is I will tend to mentor an elementary student, work with students that have that healthy foundation, watching your kiddos play in soccer, spending some time around a different population, a different set of people that do have some stability in their lives and things like that. You have to be sure that you kind of see how the other half lives. So be sure you step out of those parameters that you're stuck in, step out of your bubble, to just show yourself that there is more to the world than the problems that we deal with day to day. Next tip is a big one. It's actually sitting down and creating a self-care plan. So I have a resource for you. I mean, it is gold. It honestly got me to sit down and really consider what my routine was. This is a resource from a social worker that I met over social media. She's very awesome. Her name is Seishan, and her whole thing, her whole jam is to support mental health providers, specifically social workers, in preventing burnout. So she created a whole self-care routine that breaks it down really easy with goals and steps and suggestions. So I'm gonna put that link down below to her self-care routine, because it is so important, and I do want you to kind of look at that and see how that goes. If you want me to share more specifically about my self-care routine and how I worked through her self-care plan, then please let me know down in the comments, or maybe I'll do a little voter card somewhere here and just vote and let me know what you think. My last tip is what I'm doing now. Actually, I'm sitting on the floor of a hotel room, if you haven't noticed already, and I'm actually doing professional development. The longer I stay in the field, well, no, actually, I've seen this ever since I started in the field. It's kind of looked upon like, whatever, you know, oh, here I am again at another training, blah, blah. It's like trying to be like too cool for school. Try not to approach professional development in that way. Come from a place of wanting to learn. I was sitting in a workshop today where I felt like I could have been teaching the workshop, but then I step back and I remind myself, but Lauren, you're not teaching the workshop. So something guided you here. There's a reason that you're sitting in this workshop, that this facilitator is facilitating. Listen, there's pieces, there's nuggets to be found in this workshop. Look for them. So I go back into school mode, and I'm such a schoolgirl. I love school. So I have my pretty pens and my notebook, and I'm writing notes. I'm staying engaged. I'm listening, I'm formulating questions. I often will go up to the speaker after, because I'm still not very vocal in large groups, but I will go and give my card and get their card and ask my questions more on a private nature. And I feel like you get more substance in those types of one-on-one question and answers when the speaker stays afterwards. So I guess my main recommendation is be sure that you're doing professional development. Don't just do it online and the easy way. Go out and seek trainings that you want to learn and grow from. That's what keeps you fresh in the field. I feel like that's why it's mandatory, not only to be able to better serve our clients, but to create an energy within us. Okay, so I'm done with all my tips, and I'm really hoping that you got something out of this video, maybe heard something a little differently, something that stuck with you. Let me know if anything popped out to you in the comments below. And if you're doing something that I'm not currently doing, please share it so that I can go another 10 years and another 10 years after that. Who knows how long I'll be doing these videos or doing social work in general. I don't see myself burning out anytime soon, but I am always open to tips and tricks and your insight as well. So with that being said, let's keep the discussion going in the comments below, and find me over on Instagram. If this video helped you, if you want to share it with others, tag me in your Instagram stories. I hang out there a lot. I would love to reshare those stories on my own Instagram at Social Work Scrapbook. Until next time, I'm wishing you social work success. Bye-bye. Wearing this. This is Lauren, and I don't know why I said this. There's the ring. All right, so if you're interested in learning what I